The Galactic Fleet's newest recruits stood in perfect formation aboard the training deck of the GSS Harmony, their scales, fur, and chitin gleaming under the harsh overhead lights. Admiral Vexthor, a towering Kralix with 4 arms and eyes that had witnessed 3 centuries of warfare, moved through the rows with practiced scrutiny. "Acceptable," he rumbled, his translator converting his clicking mandibles into standard galactic common. His inspection had been routine until he reached Base 7, where the so-called Cubs squadron stood waiting. The Admiral stopped mid-stride. Before him stood 12 of the youngest pilots in the fleet, fresh academy graduates barely past their species maturity thresholds, a Fenraki barely 3 cycles old, her lupine features still soft with youth, 2 serene twins whose bioluminescent patterns flickered nervously, a young Thorgian whose stone-like skin hadn't yet developed its full protective layers. The rest were equally green, equally untested, and at the center, arms crossed and standing with an peculiar ease that seemed almost insolent, was a human. Vexthor had encountered humans before. The species had only joined the Galactic Coalition 15 standard years ago, yet they had already developed a reputation, though whether that reputation was favorable or concerning remained hotly debated in military circles. "Who commands this unit?" The Admiral demanded, his voice echoing across the bay. 12 heads turned in unison. 12 fingers, claws, and appendages pointed at the human. The Admiral's mandibles twitched in what might have been amusement or irritation. "Explain." The human stepped forward. She was small by galactic standards, barely reaching the Admiral's mid-thorax, with the typical mammalian features of her kind: bilateral symmetry, forward-facing eyes, and that strange flexibility that made humans seem both fragile and unnervingly athletic. Her name tag read, CDR Sarah Chen, Terran Coalition. "Commander Chen reporting, sir," she said crisply. "I've been assigned as squad leader for the Cubs. You?" Vexthor's translator couldn't quite capture his disbelief. "You're barely older than they are. By Terran standards, you're 24 cycles. That's a child commanding children. With respect, sir, I'm the most qualified for the position." The Admiral's translator worked overtime as he made a sound somewhere between a laugh and a threat display. "Most qualified? Lieutenant Sorax has tactical scores in the 98th percentile. Ensign Valix completed the Korsoth Gauntlet in record time. You..." He gestured at her personnel file hovering on his wrist display. "You barely passed advanced piloting theory." Chen's expression didn't change. "Theory isn't my strong suit, sir. But I can fly. Flying isn't enough to lead, no sir. But understanding your team is." Vexthor regarded her silently. Then he turned to the young Fenraki. "Pilot Rena, why does this human command you?" Rena's ears flattened respectfully. "Because she sees us, Admiral. Not what we lack, but what we can become." The Admiral moved to the Thorgian. "Pilot Cross?" The stone-skinned youth's voice rumbled like distant thunder. "She doesn't lead from behind. In every simulation, Commander Chen takes the most dangerous position. She makes us want to be brave enough to follow." One by one, the Admiral questioned them. Each answer was different, yet they all painted the same picture. The Serene twins spoke of how Chen had spent hours learning their bioluminescent communication patterns when vocal commands failed during a system blackout. The young Vex pilot described how she'd stayed up for 3 cycles, helping him overcome his fear of deep space after a traumatic training incident. "She plays Earth music during long patrols," one admitted sheepishly. "It helps us stay alert without being stressed." "She taught us something called gallows humor," another added. "It makes the fear manageable." Vexthor turned back to Chen. His 3 centuries of military experience told him this was irregular, inefficient, too emotional, too human. "These pilots need a commander who will forge them into weapons," he said coldly. "Not a caretaker." Chen met his gaze without flinching. "With respect, Admiral, they're already weapons. What they need is someone who remembers they're also people. Sentiment is a liability in combat. Maybe, but on Earth we have a saying. People don't die for flags or commanders. They fight for the person standing next to them." She gestured to her squad. "Every pilot here would fly into hell for their wingmate. I've made sure of that. Can tactical scores and theory tests guarantee the same thing?" The Admiral was silent for a long moment. Finally, he brought up his command interface. "You have one chance to prove yourself, Commander Chen. The Raxian border has been experiencing pirate raids. 3 days. Standard patrol route. Show me what your cubs can do. Yes, sir. As the Admiral turned to leave, he paused. Tell me, Commander, what makes humans think they can lead species that were mastering faster than light travel, while your kind was still banging rocks together? Chen smiled, that peculiar human expression that could mean 100 different things. Because we remember what it was like to be young and scared and in over our heads, sir. We remember, and we refuse to let anyone face that alone. 3 days later, the Cub Squadron returned from their patrol, having successfully defended a civilian convoy from a pirate force 3 times their size. They'd sustained damage but 0 casualties. The tactical recording showed a level of coordination and mutual trust that usually took years to develop. When Admiral Vexthor asked Commander Chen how she'd managed it, she simply shrugged. We took care of each other, sir. That's what Cubs do. The Admiral watched her lead her squad, this collection of the fleet's youngest, most inexperienced pilots, toward the mess hall, their formation loose but their bond evident in every interaction. Perhaps there was something to this human approach after all. Or perhaps humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their endurance or adaptability or that legendary stubbornness. Perhaps it was simply this: their absolute refusal to let anyone fight alone. And